What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Terror Table for episode 141. We are a horror movie podcast that is presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, who is currently sponsored by Koontz Credit Union. So you can check us out on Saskatchewan Podcast Network or on Podbean. If you're listening right now, we assume you found a way to listen, so you can go and check us out. Check more about us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those places, we are the Terror Table. I am one of your regular hosts that you hear every single week. My name is Mitch, and alongside me, as always, regular host of the show, I have...
Buzi.
And keeping our third co-host spot warm this week, we have a returning guest, but he's going to just act as another co-host this week.
Returning champion.
Is Sebasterio.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, Sebasterio.
Sebasterio.
Bonjour.
We had Seb on last week, in which we talked about Tremors. You guys all know the deal, how Seb came here he flew to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan to be here for the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival, and where he was able to meet one of his idols, Joe Dante, and Belinda Blasky. So that's why he's here. We're in the final day of the festival run. So we decided to just have, since Seb doesn't fly back till tomorrow, he's going to be another host on the show today.
I think it would have been better if he would have said that your idol was Belinda Blasky.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Just always wanted to be Belinda.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, we do not give a shit about Seb being here today, because who we're here to celebrate is our new friend, director, filmmaker, in all facets from what it sounds like. Welcome to the show, Aaron B. Koontz.
Hey, wow, thank you. What an insult to your friend. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that was pretty mild.
Yeah.
We've been pretty hard on each other's for a week.
So we're going to, normally we would talk about like what we've been seeing, what we've been doing, then we talk about some horror news, and then we talk about a film pick of the week. But this week we're going to do something a little bit different. Aaron is in town to show his film, Scare Package, a horror anthology that we had the chance to see last night at the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival. And over the last couple days, it was Jeff, who's one of our festival, like one of our he's the assistant festival director. He picked you up from the airport. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he did that, he was like, man, you got to get that guy on your podcast. He said that he's just like, that guy could probably talk for hours about all this cool shit that he's like, he'd be a great fit for your show. So we're super excited to have you here. We're going to talk about everything horror today, all your influences, all the things that you love about it, everything that you're working on, and but we're also gonna talk pretty in depth about Scare Package without any spoilers, because people are going to be able to see it. I'll let you talk about all that in a little bit here, but for people who are tuning in who haven't seen the movie yet, we're not going to spoil a bunch. Like, maybe we'll do a spoiler warning if we're going to, because honestly, I don't know how we're gonna not mention some of the crazy things that are in this movie.
We'll just giggle and
But Aaron is also an executive producer on a Terror Table favorite. Buzi and I have been singing the praises of Starry Eyes for the entire time that we've been doing this podcast. So you're the executive producer of that, and I guess with all that out of the way, we can just go right into the beginning. We'll talk about you a little bit, then we're going to talk about your movies. But Aaron, you're a massive horror fan. You got tattoos all over your arms of horror movies. You're
currently wearing a Thing hat.
Wearing a Thing hat, and if for when our listeners can eventually see Scare Package, they're going to see that you're in the hands of someone who truly loves this genre. That's the one thing that you can really, really notice about that movie, is that it's a very meta movie, and meta movies don't normally work for me. Like, aside from Scream, like I love Scream. Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorites, but like they can be so shitty. Like sometimes if you don't understand the genre, they can be shitty. So but last night, man, I think I can speak for all three of us here that we had a fucking blast watching your movie Scare Package. It was absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited. Anyone who listens to the Terror Table regularly, this is a movie made for you, for more reasons than just the fact that it's a crazy, awesome horror movie. It's the fact that, like, man, our humor is littered throughout this movie. It like almost feels, not to downgrade what you did, but it feels like Terror Table the movie. Like, it's like everything that we love. Like, there's
stealing your shit.
There's circumcision jokes. There's fucking every reference possible. I'm gonna shut up now. Aaron, what was your first experience with the horror genre?
Oh God,
Take us way back.
So I grew up in a religious home, so I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies. And
Like Wes Craven, basically.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
Like how religious are we talking? Like real.
Like my mom, like I mean, like we had church like 3 days a week kind of thing,
Oh,
like
wow.
Sunday
You guys
morning,
are putting
Sunday
in
night,
overtime.
Wednesdays. Oh, it was a thing. It was awful. Like I remember being at the Super Bowl was going on, and we were like in church during the Super Bowl, which was like weird as a kid. But no, I wasn't allowed to watch horror films. So, but my grandmother got HBO for free, and I used to go to her. Like after school, I would go over to her house and I would bring VHS tapes and I would record what was on HBO when I left for the night around 8 o'clock. So basically at that time in the 80s, there would just be these, they would play the horror films basically after 8 o'clock. That's when rated R movies would come on HBO, and they didn't during the day. Mm-hmm. So I would get a tape, put it on the SLP mode, so get as many as long as we could. And then the next day I would just replace it with another tape. And then my friends, Sean Talley is one of my best friends. He's also part of my producing team. We would watch these tapes later and just, see what the hell was on there. And it became this thing, this kind of experience to because you had no idea what movies were going to show up. Mm-hmm. So I saw
So you're
Friday
just like
13th.
taking it all in, no matter.
Yeah, and it was all forbidden fruit. So this was all new.
Yeah.
It was an
How
entirely
old were
new
you
world.
around this age?
So, well, the first time this was happening, I was probably around 10,
Okay.
11. And then I referenced Sean, actually. Sean came in. Sorry, I bumped your mic there. Sean came in a little bit later in the process because he had tapes that he would also give me as well. But that combination of things is like really what came to, and I had no idea what any of these movies were. So, and then we reached a point where I would always go to the video store and I would see the covers of the things that I wanted to see, but I wasn't allowed to see them. Mm-hmm. So I would always be like praying, like, oh my God, give me this movie. I really want to see Halloween, like, please. And then like one night Halloween actually showed up, and they played. And this, I did this for like 2 years, so there was a lot that happened with it. But I also saw weird stuff like Clockwork Orange and like.
So did you have to hide when you were watching those? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I had to hide all the tapes and everything, and it became.
I like
a
that
whole
you guys
ordeal.
did like tape trading. It's like very punk rock of you guys.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a thing. It was the only way. It was the only way that I could see it. So
Like, you want to see my Halloween bootleg?
yeah, I mean, it was the closest way to get to see any of this stuff, and then that changed everything because I didn't know movies could be like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could be thrilled. I didn't know that I could be scared. I didn't know that I could see, any of the shit that I was seeing, right? Mm-hmm. It just was this whole other world. And then it was cooler because I wasn't allowed to see it, and then I had other friends and I had the tapes and I just had piles of tapes. So I would walk, this is in Indiana where I grew up in the Midwest in the States. And like, I would just walk over and like, hey, I have this, like, what do you guys have? And we watched, it was like Shocker and like, just so like good. Whatever random, is it really?
I love that movie. It's so fucking bad.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's fun, but I think of those kinds of things and and then later on, like I said, my buddy Sean, like he was allowed to have everything and he's OCD and he just would have these tapes and he'd have the names on them like for forever. So I would borrow those as well. And it just changed everything. Yeah, it changed everything.
Would you like sort your movies for you? Like, because it had that white strip on the side. Would you like write like exactly what was on there?
Oh no, he probably still has these. Yeah. So no, you'd see on the side of the tape, I would go into like his room. It's a room similar to like this room he had, and it was just a wall of VHS tapes. And it would have just, 3 movies named. It would have like the total running time on each.
That's
like,
amazing.
He's like that meticulous. And and I would just like grab a couple tapes of things I hadn't heard of, and I'd see Prom Night and I'd see whatever and all these different things. And
that's awesome.
House.
Yeah, it's such a good one. And okay, so like, but what's the first movie that you remember having like a profound impact on you?
Alien.
Yeah.
Alien, 100%. It was, I went to my buddy. So again, I had to go to church, right? And I remember it was a Sunday night and there was a Monday where there was no school the next day. And I had to go to my buddy Matt White's house. And his dad was going to go rent a movie. And we were like, please rent us Alien. Like, please rent us Alien. And I had just seen, I saw an R movie. I think it was Last Mohicans. That was like one of the first like R movies I was allowed to see because I don't know, my parents were like cool with that. And I was like, I've already seen Last Mohicans. They scalp a dude. Yeah. Like, come on, I could do this. And he's like, well, I'm going to watch it with you. And I'll sit there. So like we were sitting up in the front, like right by the TV, and I just remember I've never had dread like that, because the other times I'd watch it was like in my room at night and quiet, and I couldn't like experience these horror films the right way, but it was still creepy because I'm like sometimes actually watching it in a closet because I didn't want anybody to know and like to wake up that I was watching, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever, and
with the volume just like super
yeah,
fucking low,
yeah.
so you have to sit real close.
Exactly, like all that kind of shit. So this was like on a bigger TV, like real. It was a thing, and then that movie too. The sound design of Alien is just so creepy and so scary. And you're watching it in a dark room, like, you know, cuddled up in blankets with like my best friend, and it just. Oh my God, man, that movie absolutely wrecked me. But I loved it. I was just obsessed. And then my mom was like not happy the next day that she found out that we had watched it. But yeah, that was like, man, what that screening of Alien, because I got scared. I got actually scared. And that feeling is so thrilling. Yeah. It was so thrilling. Like I didn't know you could feel that way watching a movie. I had no clue. So it really... You know, from that point on, I was like, whatever this is, I want to recreate it. And then I started scaring my brother and stuff. And I would like, you know, pop out and, you know, I wanted to see his reaction.
You turned into that guy.
Yeah, right. Well, like M. Night tells those kind of same stories, you know, but like I would lock him in a closet or whatever, and then like, you know, bring out the camera and then see his reaction when he would come out and stuff. And pretty awful things, honestly. But it was fun for me because I wanted to see that reaction. And then that was when I started to connect those dots of like, wait, I could get that reaction out of someone at some point. Yeah. And it became like, it's a drug. I mean, it's totally a drug.
Totally. So would you say that Alien is the one that like inspired you to become a filmmaker yourself as well? Or do you want to name a couple others that might have influenced you?
I mean, I knew that I wanted, so I think I wanted to be a writer at first. So that was definitely more that path. But then, oddly enough, like the films that, when I really decided, like officially that I'm going to be a filmmaker, was many years later. It was in 1999. I had actually already graduated high school. I graduated in 98. And it was not a horror film. It was a film called Magnolia by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, so that movie, in that 99, which I think is the greatest year of film, like period.
Yeah, it's an incredible year.
Oh, no, it just blew me out of the water. Like that is... You know, you just go down the list of the movies from that year, but Magnolia in particular was just so important to me. And I remember watching, because I'd seen Fight Club, I don't know if it was earlier or later.
Fight Club was the year after.
Well, no, Fight Club was 99.
Yeah, Fight Club is 99.
Yeah, Fight Club's 99 as well, because they were close in release date, and but like The Matrix is also 99.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Star Wars.
Was that really a Star Wars?
Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Was that really 99 too?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's not what I'm referencing when I talk about the 99 year.
You saw the Jar Jar underwater scene and you're like, this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
This is my
I was
call.
going to say he was
make
going to go
films.
back a year, and he's like, that Godzilla movie, I got to get in on something like that.
No, that's not the case at all. But no, I watched that. The end of that movie though, in Magnolia, there's a shot where they're holding on Melora Walters, and the look in her face, and she, you know, has a tear in her eye, and she looks into the lens, and it's this long push in when John C. Reilly sits on the bed. And I don't know what the hell happened, but like I started to cry, and I sat there, and I was with my girlfriend at the time and like a group of other people. They left. The movie's 3 hours and 6 minutes. And I said, I have to watch this again. And I went back and watched it again, and I'm like, this is what I have to do with my life.
Really?
And I knew it. Yeah. And then actually for the film that I just finished, I actually got to hire Melora Walters, which is really
awesome.
cool. Yeah. It was like a very... Man, it's still, even just saying that out loud is like a crazy cool
that
thing.
actually,
That's kind of like a full circle thing.
Yeah,
with it.
right.
that kind of transitions into my next question, is that you're kind of a part of this like group of filmmakers and creative types that I think last night you were mentioning something about everyone from Texas knows each, because you're originally from Texas. Is that where you?
No. I mean, it's just, I think it's not, I wouldn't say, I mean, Texas is huge, so I don't know everybody from Texas, but I think if you're making genre films in Texas, we kind of know who each other are.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a community. And honestly, I think if you're making genre films in general, in the States in particular, we all kind of know who each other are.
Yeah,
I think there's
like,
a camaraderie there.
Yeah. So you went to film school, correct?
Yeah, I went to Full Sail, and I went to Full Sail in like right after seeing Magnolia.
Yeah.
So it was like 2000, and I decided to go in there with my buddy Sean, who I've referenced before. So the kid Josh, who I don't like, and
fuck Josh.
That's fine.
Let's just fuck him.
Yes, fuck Josh. Absolutely. Like, and if he listens, he knows it too, so it's fine.
Yeah, if Josh is listening, fuck you.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Oh my god, I want to hug you guys. It's so true. But yeah, so I went to film school, went to this with this group, and then even in my class was Adam Wingard was in my class.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Your next Evan Katz was in my class. And it's weird, like, Adam was just the dude in the back of the class who was just drawing pentagrams on the table and stuff, and it was like,
why am I not surprised?
That makes sense now, I guess.
But we got along, like I got along with all those guys, and I knew that they were talented folks, and actually it was because I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. I went to film school, and then I did for a long time. I went into just working production work, and I would just take like whatever job I could get, and I worked on Charlize Theron film Monster.
What? And, you worked on that?
I worked. So another interesting story about Monster.
I masturbate to that movie all the time.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Glad you had a part of his climax.
Yeah. Wow, I contributed to that. That's
you
good to
helped
know.
out.
That's. I don't know if that's good to know or not. Look, don't get me wrong. Like, she went through some shit, but she's still beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then Christina's in it as well, and she's beautiful. But it was and just that was an amazing experience just to watch them kind of filming that. I was working at the Universal backlot at the time, and there was a UPM there named Craig Richards, and he saw me. I was there. Like, I showed up before anybody else got there, and they gave me a key as an intern, like an unpaid intern, and they ended up giving me a key to this offices of this other like shitty place that I hated working at, but the cool things were happening there.
Sounds like a Josh place.
Yeah, right. It is kind of. It's like a weird, like, conservative place, which he is too. So
teacher, it's getting worse.
Yeah, sorry, whatever. But Josh is just gonna get shit on this entire time, so it's fine. It's so great. But anyway, he saw me there all the time, and then he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Look, I want production gigs. Like, this is what I do. Like, I'm a production coordinator, a production assistant, like whatever you need. Like, I'm the best fucking coffee dude you'll ever find. Like, let me know." And then he gave me a gig, started as a production assistant, became a production coordinator on it, which was really cool. But on that film, one of the cool things that I did that ties back to horror more was we had to hire we were looking for some stunt people for it, and a bunch of names kind of came through, and I was like, who you should hire who'd be like an awesome stunt person is Kane Hodder.
Oh shit.
And I was like, Kane's done some stunt stuff, like this makes sense. And they hired him. So like I got Kane hired on that. I don't know if Kane even knows that, but
that's crazy. So you were the one who did that.
I mean, I couldn't hire, but I suggested because I thought it'd be cool. And Kane Hodder, and he shows up as a jail dude, like in the jail as well. And
it's such a memorable scene because that movie is like it's got a level of prestige to it. Didn't it not win an Academy Award?
It won. Charlize won.
Yeah.
She won best actress.
Man, I just rewatched that movie recently. It's so good.
Yeah,
but
I appear in one scene.
I watch it. Kane Hodder, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's hard. You have to kind of like pause it. There's a scene where they're in this restaurant and there's like a booth in the corner, and you can see me like pretty clearly if you pause it.
Really? Crazy.
Yeah.
Is it the scene where they're slow dancing?
No. It's oh god,
it's okay.
It's like it's all like this is all merging together now. That's 2002 for me. So, but yeah, so I did movies like that, and I did, and that was actually one of the cool ones. I also worked on shitty movies like from Justin and Kelly and shit like that.
Oh, what?
So
Courtney would be excited about that. Maybe she'll get you to sign her DVD copy.
Oh my god, that's worth money.
Probably.
If you have a DVD of that, that's worth money because that still holds the record for the fastest exit from theaters, like of like a 2,000 plus theater screening to like go directly to home video. I think it had the record for the longest time.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah. I would not be surprised if she owns it. I'm pretty sure she owns it. We'll
Justin Giorini's a good dude. I used to get him pot all the time. But yeah, I mean, you just do whatever, right? You just work on whatever the hell you can, and none of it was my aesthetic, but it was I'm on a fucking film set and this is cool. But it was hard. Like the work, this is in Florida at the time, Orlando. That's where I went to film school. And it was just so hard to make ends meet. And then I took a job in the game industry and kind of got sucked in that world. And I worked my way up to be like a QA manager, director, and producer in the game industry. And I did that for like 10 years. I was still writing on the side, but like that pulled me completely out. And then it wasn't until 2012, and this kind of comes full circle, I'm at South by Southwest, and I knew that my buddy Adam had made a film called A Horrible Way to Die, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I remember when he made Popsicle and Homesick and stuff, which were those are Adam's first 2 films.
You got to pause for 2 seconds. I just got to say that we worship The Guest here.
Oh, dude, The Guest
is my favorite horror. It's my favorite movie of the last 10 years.
It's so good.
It's fucking amazing. That's a movie. I watched it and then I started it right from the beginning, right when I finished it.
Oh man,
because we talked about it last week, right?
Yeah,
because I fucking love it too.
Yeah, it's just oh god, it's so good. But yeah,
when he throws, I mean, there's so many moments, but when he comes in, he does that little orchestrated when he like throws the grenades and then in the restaurant, he turns around. It's just oh shit, I'm gonna stop bumping your mic. Because I talk with my hands, but I love that so much, and it's also such a Halloween homage. Like,
I know
Adam was listening to so much like Carpenter and stuff at that time, and there's all these little Halloween homages that are like stuck in there, and they found that whole maze at the end, like that was built, that was there crazy. Like in New Mexico where they found it.
Oh,
fuck
yeah, it's such a cool thing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, my buddy Chase is in that too.
Yeah. I also I'm the guy who I really fucking like Death Note. Like I thought Death Note was awesome.
Note's great, man.
I think the
I do too.
The hate he got for that was not fucking warranted.
No, of course it's not. Well, first off, the hate that any filmmaker gets on their stuff is not warranted.
But especially the level of hatred for that one, because like what do you call those anime nerds?
Weebs.
Well,
Weebs online.
That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't think it's an anime thing. I think it's a entitlement thing to like way that we perceive our interests. So, it could be what we talked about a little bit. Like we were driving in, you're not a huge fan of The Last Jedi, but I'm betting you're not somebody who went online and, doxed Kelly Marie Tran and stuff like that.
Oh, fuck no.
So I mean, there's a difference between. Well, then that's a fucking problem. We got to talk about it because that's bullshit.
Yeah, I did not. Do that. But in secret, I curse Rian Johnson for what he did to Luke. in private.
It's okay. I think what he did to Luke is great. So
that's fine. You guys are friends.
Not friends. I mean, I would say. I mean, I know him. I've met him a couple times, but he. But that has nothing to do with it. Okay. I think it's a great movie, and I think what he did. But that's a different topic.
I'm with you on that.
It's a different topic. The point is, there's entitlement in fans, and especially if you have any kind of nostalgic connection to it, that if you change that connection, then that becomes like you're fucking with my past, and that's not your past. This is an evolving story that we get to continue creating, and I think that's where these things kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Don't listen to our last episode then. We went off about the new Black Christmas.
Well, okay, man. I mean,
or Rob Zombie.
Yeah, we went savage. We've been going savage on Black Christmas.
Well, so here's I'll give you guys this. I will say, other than Josh, I'm not going to talk shit about a lot of people.
Fuck you,
but
Josh.
we got to make it clear that Josh is a
well, just because look, man, making a film is so hard.
Yeah.
And I also have, I peripherally know people, and it's enough to where, but not even just that. Like I just don't. I want to build up films, and I don't want to tear them down. Having said that, I'm not a big Rob Zombie fan at all.
Oh, yes.
So I'll put that out there.
Welcome, brother.
And I do, and as much as like I love the people that made Black Christmas that are doing this, I think it's a really great group of folks who have their heart in the right place, and I'm rooting for them. It doesn't look like a film that I'm very interested in, but I hope it does well, because if it does well, then it just means that these are good people who are going to try and continue to make more of those films.
And I think for a lot of people, especially like even our podcast, is that line gets blurred a lot where we're looking at it subjectively. Like if I knew everyone involved in something, I'd probably be a lot nicer to it. But there's that big part of it where it's like, hey, like we all love Black Christmas, so it's a big concern for us when you see something that says Black Christmas doesn't feel like it.
Well, and you're entitled to your opinion, and look, I understand, I get it. Like I watched the trailer and the teaser, and I understand like where that ire comes from. But from me, I just think it's like I'll even bring it up. So like my first film got panned by critics, so like I look at that and it's a thing that, but I'm still proud of what that movie is. Even though like what was released wasn't necessarily my cut and all the stuff that I've learned later.
That was Camera Obscura.
And I'm still proud of what that film is. But like it's I just think, there's just so much that went into that, and there's people that, and they have their proper critiques of it, and they should have it, and that's totally fine. But there's also, like, I know how hard it was to get certain things done, and it's like, man, like, yeah, you can critique this moment, but you don't understand what we had to do in order to make that moment happen.
True.
And we don't, we're just seeing this final version, and it's, I don't know. So it's just, I guess when you start making movies, it just becomes, it's just so hard for me to.
Is it hard to separate, like, your experiences and you making it versus the final product in that way?
Well, with my own things, yes, that's also very hard, because all I do is see what the movie isn't, constantly. Even last night, I had to leave the theater at one point during Scare Package because there's things that kind of bother me that I wanted. I'm like, this could have been so much more here, and it wasn't. And that's
Is there
my
an example
fault.
you could give specifically for that?
Is there what?
Is an example you could give us for that, or do you not want
to? Not on that, because
Okay.
I think that starts to get a little too specific about.
Sure.
Because there's just, again, it's hard. That was, keep in mind, Scare Package was, this was a small independent film that was made, on the backs and sweat of a lot of people,
Right.
and it was tough. It was a tough movie to make.
You can feel that though. Like,
yeah.
while I was watching that movie, I was like, this looks like when you watch those movies and you're like, man, this would have been so much fun to make. I imagine there's probably some shitty things that happened, but it looked like you guys had so much fun.
It was, honestly, it was the most fun I've had direct. I mean, especially what I directed in particular is the most fun I've ever had directing. Yeah. I mean, I was, there are moments in that movie where I'm literally not looking at the camera, and I'm just like looking to the side. I'm just, I'm like action, because I'm laughing so hard because I couldn't focus.
God, man. Me and Seb were fucking losing it.
Well, Bryson was laughing like I've never heard.
Oh man, yeah. Our friend shout out to our friend Bryson from Utah who flew here. He was sitting beside us. You can take it away. You were sitting right beside him.
Oh man, like you were too far to hear, but he was just laughing at such a high pitch that I've never heard
it come out of
like
a human, and it was, he couldn't contain it, and he like went on
because we were laughing a lot, but he was like, oh yeah, that was insane.
It's like
so good,
such an incredible moment. But yeah, sorry, I totally cut you off. We were talking about, we'll go back to what you were talking about. I just wanted to, the whole point of this was to say that we love the guest.
Sorry, yes,
and expectations and everything.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll go on tangents. That's my business.
That's what we do.
But The Guest is a wonderful, wonderful movie, and I think it is. I do think it's the best film that Adam and Simon have made to date. Although I do think Your Next is really close. I think Your Next is phenomenal.
We love Your Next.
So they're just wonderful people, and they're doing wonderful things. And I can't wait to see Kong versus Godzilla, because I know, Adam's like a lifelong, fan of that. So I know he's gonna do it right. So I'm super excited. But yeah, I mean, that was a group. So I went to school with those guys. Previously, Darren Limbausman, I didn't know him, but he went to the same school and stuff. So there's a little bit of a horror community. Stephen C. Miller's another one. Yeah. A little bit of a horror community that graduated from there. And so 2012. So Adam's there, and they made a VHS. Yeah. And it played at Sundance, then it was playing at South by Southwest. I'm super sick, but I still really wanted to go because I'm like, I have to go see VHS. I've heard this is fucking awesome.
It's awesome.
And because it's an anthology, it's even more kind of pertinent. It's like what I'm doing now. And I saw that movie, and then after, like, I ran into Adam, and I didn't even want to bother him because I was like, oh, Adam's too big now. He's not going to talk to me or whatever. And we turn, and then he sees me, and he's like, Koontz? And I'm like, and he takes my badge, and he's like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And we were talking, and then we went, and I had drinks with like him and AJ and Ty and the whole group, Joe Swanberg, all those guys were there. And I'm sick as a dog, but I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so cool. Like, these guys are amazing. And then I remember Adam told me that I needed to get back into film, and I need to make movies.
That's awesome.
And it was like
a little heart to heart with you on that one.
Just a little, it was just enough. He's like, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you making movies?
He's just giving you that push.
Yeah, it was there. And then the next thing, like, and almost immediately after that, I had just moved to Austin, and I went and saw, there was a Kevin Smith special that he did. And regardless of your feelings about Kevin Smith, his talks are so inspirational.
I love him.
Yeah, I love
so
him.
there's an inspirational talk that he did that actually was live from Austin, where he talks about, like, take your shots, and, like, you never know what it's going to be, and like encourage an artist. And there's this whole...
he's one of the reason we're all here, technically.
How come?
He's not my dad.
No, but I went to Montreal and I met him, and he had a speech just like that, and he encouraged people to do podcasts, so just give it a shot.
Yeah, that's true.
And eventually I was talking with Mitch, and I did just that. Dude, just do a podcast.
He pitched this podcast to me. And
based on Kevin Smith.
All of our stuff and been helping from afar. But yeah, that's crazy.
So it's all Kevin Smith.
Yeah, that makes. I mean, that's
He's
awesome
an
because
guy.
Well, that speech. So he's probably the same thing, but there's a movie of it that they did, and it's called Kevin Smith Burn in Hell or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And if you watch it, so I'm in the audience of that. I'm in like the third row, and that was the night that I heard him say that. He's like, encourage an artist. He's like, go do this, go do your thing, go make your film, go whatever. And I'm sitting next to my buddy Shane, who I love, not like Josh, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, Adam's telling me to do it. Like, Adam's making it. You know, my buddy Evan was like writing stuff with Adam.
Cheap
he was
Thrills
writing
is
movies.
So fucking good.
Oh, Cheap Thrills is so fucking
Cheap
good.
Thrills is fucking amazing.
Can we like? I want to have an entire piece to talk about how amazing Cheap Thrills is,
need to.
And because I think that Evan went through hell and back to make that movie, and I think it's so delightful. I think it says so much about our current times. I think it's ruthless in the right spots, and it also comes into who I think is one of the most underrated actors in the world is Pat Healy.
He's one of my favorite actors. I've talked about.
He's in The Pale Door.
I know he's in a couple of your things.
And he's in Starry Eyes as well. Yeah.
Oh man, I just got chills because a couple episodes ago we were talking about like if we could have one actor like blow up that we really like who hasn't necessarily blown up yet, who would it be? Right? And I was like Pat Healy, hands down.
Oh my god, like Pat Healy should be like Michael Shannon right now. Like he should have. He has that in him in every way. I also think Christopher Denham, who was the lead in my first film, Come Obscure, I also think he's just amazing. Yeah. People not as much in horror that people have known, but he's just phenomenal. But Pat. Yeah, I love Pat to death, and I mean that guy also went to hell and back on the last movie I made. Like he gives it his all, and just added so many like little subtle touches in this Western we did, and yeah. But I love Pat to death. I love Cheap Thrills. I love Evan. It's just a great group and all that. But yeah, so they going to school with those people, Adam encouraging me, seeing VHS, and I was like, and then that Kevin Smith thing was like, I got to do it, and then I started Paper Street Pictures, my company, April 4th, 2012. South by Southwest was March. The Kevin Smith thing was like late March, and then I started the company like a few days later, and we just started making short films.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man.
Just need to push sometime.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't that what Romero did with Adam Green before After Thor?
Yeah, he got Adam all inspired. Before we keep moving on here, though, I want to just, because here's the thing, is like we've been talking off air a lot, and this is like potentially the douchiest thing I have ever done on the podcast, but I want to give you like 20 seconds to just name drop your group, like so we know like what kind of, because you're part of a group of like Noah Segan is in Scare Package. Just want to paint the picture for our listeners to know like people who pay attention to this stuff know about how these groups kind of stay together, and there's like different facets of film, especially in the horror genre, and
I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin necessarily on the name, but I think that there's a great group. The indie horror community is very well connected. Yeah. We're all friendly with each other. We all know each other, and I think the good ones at least are very supportive of each other. Yeah. And if my friends make a movie, I am always out there promoting it, anything I can. Well, Josh wouldn't make a movie, so I mean, he went to film school, but I think he just does like wedding videos and stuff now because that's what he would do.
That makes sense.
Typical Josh.
So Josh, this is like Sean, who I'm gonna make listen to this, is gonna be cracking up because he knows.
Well, I'm the first French people to hate on him.
Yeah, you?
Yeah.
You're the first one, at least publicly.
No, because if he's been to France, then that's happened before.
That's a different French, though.
Yeah, okay, whatever. If he's been anywhere, you've been.
Oh, well.
Montreal, it happens.
We just make that a thing, like, fucking Josh.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Come on, Josh.
Oh, how do I petition? Like, just tell me what I can do.
I'll design a T-shirt.
Oh, my God. This is the most amazing thing. Yeah. I would fly back to Saskatoon every year. If that was the case.
That's all it's going to take, eh?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That could be our new sign off is see you next week and fuck Josh.
It's like Jimmy Kimmel when like Matt Damon can't stay on. He's like, oh, sorry, I had to bump you, Matt Damon, at the end of every episode.
Yeah, well, so good.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So, like I what I was more so meaning is like let's talk a little bit about your group of friends that helped you make Scare Package.
Sure.
So like because this is it's a horror anthology movie, and it's got 7 directors, 7 is it 7 writers as well then?
There's a couple extra writers that are on some segments. Yeah. So but yeah, so Cameron and Cameron Burns, who's my co-writer on everything that I do and works with my company, him and I came up with the concept. And then Paper Streets, 5 of us now. There's Sean, who's part of the Paper Street, and then there's Ashley Sneed and Alex Uding, who handles most of our post stuff. And we all kind of work together and like workshop ideas and come up with stuff. And we have text chats and group chats and all this stuff about all this wild stuff. We have a Google Drive of just like whatever shit you can throw out there that sticks. And Alex is the one who comes up with the crazy ideas. It usually involves somebody crawling out of a dead horse, like or hiding inside a horse. Like that always happens.
Like Leo.
Yeah, it's such a thing. But yeah. So okay. So when we first decided to make an anthology, Cameron was pushing me really hard. He's like, "Look, we know all these great people. There's so many directors that we know that could do this," and I didn't want to make one. Because, like I said, my buddies had made VHS and, VHS 2, VHS 2 I think is perfect. Like that, VHS 1 is good. I think VHS 2 is phenomenal. And like what Timo and Gareth did in their segment in VHS 2, I think is one of the greatest horror shorts ever made.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's that thing just blows my mind.
I put Amateur Night up there too. I fucking love the
Bruckner skit. Man, Bruckner is so good.
That's like as an adult, it's one of the only sketch things in horror that actually creeped me out. Like it really bothered me when I first saw it.
It's really good. Yeah, and then they made the feature version of that Siren that my buddy Chase was the lead. I
liked that movie too. I thought it was a
blast. Yeah, Siren was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun
Siren
movie
was fun. They did a good job with that. That's actually the same company that made Camera Obscura.
Cool.
But so there was that group, and then once we decided, like that weekend, I was like, okay, well if I'm gonna seriously consider doing an anthology, I went back and watched all the anthologies, and I'm very OCD, and I made like a whole list of pros and cons and what I like and don't and everything, and we decided to kind of put together. I was like, look, if we do it, number one, it's got to be cohesive. Like, I want this to have a little bit of a Southbound flair to it. So I talked with Brad Miska, who's the founder of Bloody Disgusting and one of the producers of Southbound and VHS and all that. And I asked him a couple questions. And then I talked with my buddy Adam Mortimer, who just made one of the best films of the year, Daniel Isn't Real.
Yeah.
And
Buzi was gushing over
I was like losing it
because we just saw it a couple
it's so good.
Ago.
That's right. Yeah, because Saskatoon played it. Yeah,
that movie is wicked.
Oh, I've seen it 3 times. I've seen it 3 times already.
It's like actually like upsetting though, because you're just watching and you're like, oh, this is fucking mental illness the whole way through.
Yeah, man.
Fuck, it's an epic movie. I can't wait to watch it again.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah, it comes out very soon. I think actually December 7th.
It's Shudder?
It's Shudder, and then Sam Goldwyn. So it'll be like there's a small theatrical and stuff as well.
Yeah. But it's next year. Do you know?
No, it's coming out like now. Oh, like in December.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, I know in LA because I know I wish I could be there. They're doing their LA premiere December like 6th, 7th, something like that, at the Draft House out there. So which is cool. But yeah, so he made an anthology called Holidays. Yes. So I just kind of I pinged my friends. I was like, okay, so what were the pros and cons of making these things, and like help me understand like what struggles you went through. So I made these whole lists, and they kind of gave me advice, and I'm very thankful for that. And I was like, well, it's got to be cohesive. I needs to have like some kind of a niche that's different. Like we can't just do another anthology, And I'm like, praise be to like, the other ones that are happening, like good for them, like Nightmare Cinema and stuff. That's great because they had all these legends that could do it. That's a different thing. And I'm like, we're not gonna be able to get all these legends to do it. How do we do something that's like small and fun? And I went through the list of the things like I don't like, and the things that I did. And I was like, look, horror comedy. I realized that my favorite segments all the time were the horror comedies. So I was like, oh, those are so much fun. And I'm like, I want this.
That. Yeah, dude, you understand horror comedy. Like,
yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, and sort of the writers, directors, So we picked people who understand that. So that's part of it too. So the first person that we wanted to hire is a dude named Chris McEnroy, who I think is one of the best, if not the best, horror short filmmakers in the world. And he's the one who made the guy who's like melting into the ground.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
It's amazing.
The comedy timing on that was so like well done.
Yep.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe you just did, like, because I was expecting you to, everything was landing, so it's like, it's got to go downhill from here.
No, man, that's not Chris McEnroy. That's not what Chris does, you know?
Oh, man.
He's so good at up in the game. And what was so fun is when he was sending us the script and we're just like, go, keep going. And he nailed it in every way. And we knew he would. I mean, he was the first person we were hiring. He was the first person I knew. He lives in Austin. If you haven't seen his other short films, We Summon a Demon, which is so
That's the
good.
one that you liked most last year.
Yes.
We played the short here in Saskatoon, and we talked quite at length about that one. It's
We
great.
Summoned a Demon, Death Metal.
We Summoned a Demon.
Okay.
Yeah, so and they're all online, so you can watch We Summon a Demon, Death Metal, and then Bad Guy Number 2. And those 3 shorts are 3 of my favorite horror comedy shorts ever. Ever. You can call me biased or whatever, they're just that fucking good. Mm-hmm. And that's Chris McEnroy, and he's just a wonderful person. I love him to death, and we've become good friends, and I'm so proud of him. And I honestly think this is my favorite thing he's done. And just getting him involved was like such a no-brainer. Yeah. So we pushed that, and he was there, and we're like, okay, like this is the kind of style we can build to, and we can do some stuff. But we brought him in, Emily Higgins, who she is just a complete rock star. I mean, the first time Emily made her first film when she was 12 years old, truly. Yeah, they made a documentary about her called Zombie Girl. The movie's called Pathogen. It's this little zombie film that she made. And she went on from there, and she's made multiple feature films, including she made a big film for Netflix just a couple years ago. She made a really delightful film called Grow Up Tony Phillips, that Dark Sky release that AJ Bowen in. It's just, and Emily has such a great sensibility to where she also had heart with the way that she does things. And we're doing a feature now called Wall Street and the Killing Spree. That's like this Scooby-Doo meets I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's so much fun. And I'm producing that because I just want to work with her. Like, I know she's a superstar. So we're doing everything we can to help her get that movie off the ground. And so she was a no-brainer, but the problem was she couldn't come in and do it at first because she had another project and she had to come back. So we had all these directors we were juggling. One of the first directors I also brought in was a guy named Ryan Spindell, who made an anthology called Mortuary Collection that's going to come out next year as well. It's fantastic. A very different kind of anthology. It's all one director, but in these little vignettes. But he made a horror short called The Babysitter Murders that I loved. It actually has Josephine McAdam, who's in my segment in Scare Package, is also in that. But
I feel like
is that a reference to Halloween?
The Babysitter Murders?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reference to all things babysitter murders in movies.
I think that was in our short film block, I think, actually. I think
it would have been, it played everywhere. It was probably one of the most, popular horror short films of like 2016, whatever year it was. Okay. So it was a big deal. So he made that. And actually, him and I were working together on a segment that he was going to do, but we couldn't work out the timing because he was finishing his feature. So he had to bump out, and then we brought in another guy named Anthony Cousins, and I went to Texas Frightmare 2 years ago with one of our producers, Chris Phipps, and we saw this short, which he was friends with Chris McEnroy, who had made the films we were talking about. And we went and I met him, and he's like, oh, I made a short. And I'm like, okay, who's this guy? I don't know who he is. Like, I don't know what short he's got. Like, I'll go watch it and we'll see. And I watched, it's called The Bloody Ballad of Squirt Reynolds. And it is epic. It is absolutely epic. I was dying laughing. The thing ended, and I'm like, this is exactly what I want in Scare Package. Like, exactly. Yeah. And we just started talking. We went to lunch. I actually bought him lunch, and I'm like, hey, man, like, you're really good. He's from Minnesota and just has like this group of people that kind of get together. And it's just similar. Like, he has all the sensibilities. He's just a wonderful dude. Kind of fell in love with this guy. And I was like, look, we got to do this. And he's the one who did The Night He Comes Back Again, Part 4, The Final Kill. Yeah. And where the killer keeps coming back again and again, which I think is wonderful. One of my favorite segments as well. And so he was perfect. He was a no-brainer. So it was him. And then Noah, as you had mentioned. So first met Noah out of Starry Eyes, and he actually stayed at my house when Starry Eyes played at South by Southwest, and him and a couple other actors that were in the film. And Noah and I just kind of hit it off, you know? Yeah. I mean, him and I have similar sensibilities.
You both like having sex with dead girls?
I mean, you know, that's his thing. That's okay. I like to think that he's grown out of that phase now.
That's
for people not judging.
For whatever reason, if you don't understand that reference, there's a movie called, is it The Dead Girl or just Dead Girl?
I think it's just Dead Girl.
Dead Girl, with Noah Segan and the guy, Shiloh something, he's in the Evil Dead remake. Yeah. Either way, I love that movie, Dead Girl. I think it's fucking wicked.
No, it's great. Yeah, it's
so
great.
upsetting.
It's great.
But sorry, continue.
No. He's he's
a great actor.
He's wonderful. Yeah, Noah is fantastic, and also is directed by a good guy, Marcel Sarmiento, who's also a very underrated director. And but yeah, so I mean, I knew Noah. Noah and I just became friendly, and then I brought him into Camera Obscura. And you know, we were reading each other's scripts, and he's a wonderful writer himself, and I'm also working on a feature with him as well. And so, you know, it kind of made sense. And I was like, hey, you want to direct a feature? Like, let's get you in the ground floor here in Scare Package, and let's make your directorial debut. And then Noah introduced us to Baron Vaughn, who he brought in as well. And he did like the fog segment with the fight sequence.
Okay.
And he's the guy he's the voice of the robot on Mystery Science Theater, the red robot.
Okay.
On Mystery Science Theater. And he's got a show on Comedy Central too called The New Negroes, which is hilarious. And he's a stand-up comedian and just a really funny dude.
You could feel the comedy aspects when they were having the phone call in the car.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it, is like all the timing for the comedy stuff, it wasn't blunt. It was, you know what I mean? It didn't feel forced at all, which I like that segment.
No, he has just a unique sense of humor, and I think it's one of those things that's just like, like you're kind of like chuckling the whole time, you know? And but Baron's just a hilarious guy. Like, you have a conversation with him, it's like nonstop jokes. But he's great. But yeah, him, and then we brought in Courtney and Hillary Andahar. They were actually part of Shutter Labs. Had this thing where they were promoting like young up and coming filmmakers, and they were two of the filmmakers they were promoting. And Noah had known them, and they went to the University of Austin. So we had a lot of like mutual friends, but I didn't know them very well. And then we started talking about the possibility of this, and it took a long time going. But once we finally got around to making it, we became really close. And they're superstars as well. Like they're production designers for like The Wind. They did Travis Stevens' film Girl on the Third Floor. They've production designed a ton of stuff. They're doing a movie right now with the director of Happy Death Day. They're production designing his movie, a Blumhouse film in Atlanta right now.
Okay.
But they're amazing, so I brought them in. But yeah, anyway, I can keep going. There's like so many wonderful people that are involved here. And it was, you know, and then I did something too. And but I mean, it was a great group, and I think we were just really lucky to kind of, you know, just to find, we wanted to find different perspectives. And, you know, I didn't want this to be just a group of like, you know, white dudes telling it, like, and that's important to me actually. Like I wanted, because I think people have different avenues for how they wanted to do it. So, you know, we really try to focus on that. And and I mean, we're like a big family now, you know, it's a really, really cool thing.
You can feel that in the movie. And that's what I was saying to you last night is, I know you were saying that this is a low budget independent movie, but it doesn't feel that way because of how amazing the effects are. Like there's the effects, and you were saying that, you said to me last night that that's because we know how to do all that shit. Like,
well, we know the people that know how to do it, right? We know how to work with those people. Yeah. So, you know, Chris Phipps, one of the producers, like he's worked with a lot of makeup people over time. He himself, I think, even assisted in some makeup on like the Puppet Master Little Shrike movie and stuff like that. And there's a guy named Tate Steinseck he was like one of the finalists of the Sci-Fi Face-Off show.
Oh yeah. Tate. He worked on it.
Yeah, Tate's like the main makeup person for Scare Package.
I remember exactly who Tate is. Yeah, because I'm a big Face-Off fan.
Oh yeah,
but I was rooting for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, Tate's amazing, and he did the majority of the segments. But then we also brought in Russell Effects, who actually do Bruckner's stuff. They actually made the monster for The Ritual, which, by the way, also one of my favorite movies. Yeah, talk about great movies. That movie, and again, that's just David Bruckner. That's how good David Bruckner is. Like that guy is. Yeah, he's one of the best in the business. But they did that. They worked on the Girls Not Out of Body segment with like the candy skull thing. And then Ryan Shaldahi. I always say his last name wrong, but it's Ryan. I love you, Ryan. You know I love you.
But not Josh.
But fuck Josh.
Yeah, but fuck Josh. Yeah, he's like the opposite of Josh.
Yeah.
Like Josh is on one end of the
clear.
spectrum and Ryan is on the other.
Okay,
So yeah.
Josh is like the Empire.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but Ryan, he did Anthony Cousins segment, who's the killer keeps coming back. So he did that. But then other than that, the large majority was Tate Steinsick. And then Eric Zapata, who's another Eric Z, you know him as from Face Off, another Face Off person who was involved too. So basically, we know these people. There's another amazing makeup person who didn't actually work on the film, but I worked with before, like Meredith Johns. And we know these people, we know these makeup people, we know how to do it. We also know how to plan them out, right? So that we can get the gags right. And we know how to schedule those and the timing of that. So I think you just start killing a lot of people and you start to realize how this stuff needs to work. Yeah. And we did that, and you have to have directors too that are dedicated and understand what that is. So we tried to help them, like plan appropriately, but like Chris McEnroy, who does this all the time and he knows everybody. I mean, his segment, they're actually digging a hole ground. We didn't fake that. Like they dug a hole in the ground, put him in there as he's melting. That's him, still as a person in the ground, like doing all that stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We went for it. Happened. Yeah.
Well, they went for that. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, like Jared, one of the people working on the film was like digging a hole and stuff for them. I mean, it was crazy,
That's wicked.
So,
do you have a quick question? When you have a chance to work on anthologies like this, is it good opportunities to maybe work with makeup effects or anyone in the crew that you're just a little test? Because obviously, like I've been working in creative field too, and I know there's some crazy talented people, but sometimes there's just the fit is just not there that can really impact the project. So do you see like those smaller projects? Well, it's not smaller because it's still a movie, but just like, oh, that's a good try. Do you see it like that sometimes?
We actually approach that not even from a crew standpoint, but from a director standpoint. So my company, we really want to focus on producing for other people. It's not just the things that I'm directing. And we've tried to get a couple of things off the ground just for one reason or another. They haven't happened yet that I haven't directed. But that's our goal. So we looked at this as an opportunity to test working with other directors and to see how that worked. And that's where, and actually they're all kind of amazing. So it worked out really well. But it's also, that's what kind of made us really want to work with Emily in particular. She was so organized she did Cold Open. Which is our cold open about cold opens.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is so funny, and that's just her style. She has this like wonderful sensibility of, she can do like funny horror. She understands horror, but her things have charm, and I think she's really good for like another generation of the upcoming generation of horror too. I think are really going to resonate with her. So she likes to do the teen, like if it's a John Hughes movie meets like a horror film, like that's very much her thing. And I love that. Clearly I made jokes about John Hughes films in that segment too. So, but
that was awesome.
And we talked about Jaws 3 People 0 with Joe, which, man, that would have been awesome.
Which one? What was that?
Jaws 3 People 0.
Oh, yeah.
If John Hughes and Joe Dante together, that would have been amazing.
That would have been crazy. That would have been so crazy.
But then no howling, so whatever.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to ask, kind of going back more just about yourself in general, is like, who are the directors who like impact you, and also like what are your favorite horror movies? Like obviously you're wearing a Thing hat, so I'm assuming that the Thing's up there.
I don't like the Thing at all. Yeah. No, I'm obsessed.
Like, with this Thing.
Yeah.
There was no hat for the prequels. So
Oh, it's so bad. It was just the same movie. They just did the same movie, and they just did it not nearly as well.
The biggest flaw with that movie is that they didn't get. It's a good example of someone remaking something or just having a sequel, but they don't understand what made it good.
Yeah.
The Thing was good. The 82 version was good because of the tension and everything.
Yeah. Yep.
But they it's like, oh, it was cool just because there was a bunch of crazy effects and the creature
Also,
just
Did you see what they removed? The creature they had practical and they didn't end up using it.
put Harbinger
That's
down.
so
like,
frustrating.
Crew, whatever.
Yeah.
Harbinger down.
Yeah,
Harbinger down. Yeah.
Harbinger.
With
I just
Lance
know-
Henriksen.
I don't pronounce
That's
the
the
H.
reason that movie got made.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, we want to use all our effects.
Yeah.
Plus, you always had a problem with them adding females to the cast because you don't like when females are in movies, hey?
No, I love them.
Okay.
What?
That's
What the hell's going on? What podcast
that's
am
what's
I on?
weird with horror movie fans. Like right now, there's a whole like, oh, strong females, but as horror fans, like that's always been there. Like all my favorite movies have strong females. Like what are you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was joking.
And
I
we talk
just-
about Alien, which oh my god, like
Yeah, there's a weird thing as far as like even saying strong female. It's just female characters, right? And they are inherently strong. And like this idea that saying strong female means that they aren't normally. It's just a weird. It's like
you
a
just
weird
want
thing to
a
me.
good story out of it. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to know going in that they have all these impactful characters. Like just give me a good story where there are impactful characters.
Yeah.
The same thing as like when you look on like for genres of music or you're looking around on music like female fronted band. It's like what? Like since when is that a
it's
genre?
musicians, it's bands.
Well,
yeah.
they're
the
a
only,
band.
the only counter I will say, I do think it's great to have, like especially like female directed and written films
Yeah.
right now, because there are movies that they get to make that I would never be able to make, and I would never be able to have that perspective. And I think it's really cool that we're going to see that type of horror. And I think and just in general, you know, like you look at Jocelyn's film Greener Grass, like I never could have written Greener Grass, you know, and but she can, and she can create this like unique experience. And I think there's just really there's a wonderful opportunity there that I don't think we've tapped into, that I personally am really, really excited to see what more female filmmakers can do. And I 100% mean that, you know, like I think there's, you know, I just want it to be the best story possible. I'm just excited for the stories that I don't know that are going to now come out, because, you know, hopefully we can start to actually give those opportunities.
Absolutely.
it's all about the story.
Boozy
really.
was asking though, like your favorite director.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I can't even
sorry,
remember how.
yeah.
No, I can't even remember how we got off track. But
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, so yes, so Carpenter is like, so right now my two favorite directors probably of all time are, well, God, that's tough. I'd say my three favorite are Carpenter, Paul Thomas Anderson, and then, God, it's tough. Probably Kubrick. But Paul Thomas Anderson, we've talked about Magnolia a little bit. I mean, he's
There Will Be
the most
Blood.
influential. Yeah, I mean, There Will Be Blood's a
one of my
perfect
favorite
film.
movies.
There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia, I think, are three truly perfect movies. And I'm completely obsessed with them.
Even
in
his
every
movies
way.
that don't necessarily land entirely are still so interesting. Like I loved Inherent Vice, and a lot of people
Well,
didn't like
because
it.
Inherent Vice was the movie that was unmakeable.
Yeah,
you know,
well, and-
nobody could make that book, and he's like, "Well, I will."
Yeah.
And he told the
But did
story
he?
from the perspective of somebody who's fucked up and high.
Yeah.
So you're watching it as if you're high. It's like meant to be watched in that way. And it's just so like
bizarre.
what a bold thing that it is. Like that whole scene with what's his name, just like eating all the
Joaquin,
fucking
yeah.
meat at the end.
Yeah.
No, not Joaquin eating it. It's I can't remember his name. The cop. One of the main guys, but anyway, he's like eating the actual weed like off the tray at the end, just stuffing it in his mouth. It's like so ridiculous. Yeah. So Paul Thomas Anderson, John Carpenter, just you know, in every possible, like In the Mouth of Madness is like a really big movie to
Such
me.
a good movie.
It's so underrated. I think that people overlook that a lot as far as, you know, just like subverting your expectations and like meta storytelling and this like, you know, talking about it was, you know, Stephen King and all this. Like, it's just a really cool thing that they did with that.
And you were telling me off air how big of a fan you are of Ghosts of Mars.
Was I? Sure. Yeah.
You said you really liked the strong Ice Cube
Oh,
performance.
really? Well, I mean, because when is Ice Cube not strong?
Exactly.
So, very true. But that's not true. But I mean, not the Ice Cube's not strong. I mean, sure he is. Like, we'll probably
Strong
beat me up
IQ.
from saying it. But no, yeah, not Chris. But I do love John Carpenter.
Have you met him?
No, I almost did. So I went to his his tour that he did that was there.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the meet and greet there, but actually I was with a couple friends of mine in LA just a year ago, and he was there and Deborah Hill was there, and there was an opportunity to meet them, and it didn't quite work out, but my friend actually did get to meet them.
Sometimes it's better not to.
Right? Yeah. Don't meet your heroes.
Because I did meet him, and it's just like, yeah, the guy doesn't give a shit.
Well, I think he does. I think he's just like kind of jaded and over it a little bit.
Yeah, but he's been burned. Like that's a discussion we had. Like he's been burned by the studio. Like so bad. It's just so bitter. And he's pretty open about it, and it's funny.
Yeah.
It sucks for us because obviously you want to see like people you look up to like do well and continue to do stuff, but he's just like
But I mean, he, what he did for horror is just, I think, unprecedented. Because he made socio-political horror films in a time where I think people were really getting it. And even though I love the '90s kind of slasher boom, or '80s. Up into the '90s slasher boom, because I'm nostalgic for it. Like a lot of those films aren't the best movies; they're just films that I love, and there's a difference in that. Whereas what he was doing was just like, holy shit, awesome. So it's a different level. And then like, I mean, I love The Descent. Like The Descent's like he was like, and I love Neil Marshall. Even though some stuff lately. There's questionable things,
we actually had an episode talking about. We just did Dog Soldiers and The Descent.
Oh yeah,
and just talking about like these are so impactful for us. And he did move on to like I don't know bigger budget stuff and doing like Game of Thrones. But like those two were like he understood how to make good horror movies.
We had the 100%. Same episode, but in French, like the same movies and everything.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I love this so good. We talked about Let the Right One In a little earlier. Yeah. Like I love Let the Right One In. It's a very influential film.
And it's actually nice to hear that you didn't completely hate the North American version, like the remake.
No. So if all I had ever seen was Let Me In, I would love that movie.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
I would love that movie. I think the car wreck scene at the beginning is like unbelievable filmmaking and the way they accomplish that. I think it's very well done, and it's one of the better remakes. And I'm not somebody who shits on remakes. Like, I think that I just want you to do something different with it. I just hate the title, Let Me In. Like, I just think that subverts what Let the Right One In means.
Yeah, the subtlety of what it's all about.
Yeah,
right like the title gives it away for you in a certain way.
It's just, I don't like that. I feel like it's like it should have a question mark at the end. And it just it frustrates me.
Yeah. And Let the Right One In has like the best fucking ending ever.
Oh my god!
The original, ending of that movie is so impactful.
When with the pool, like the whole thing, it's so good. And even it's also, I love when horror can have heart like that. Yeah,
totally.
And it's just so, oh god! Like I remember right before I was going to make Camera Obscura, I had watched that movie with my girlfriend at the time. And it ended, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I trying to make movies? Because this is too good, and I'm a fraud. There's no reason. Like, it's so good.
It defeated you.
Yeah. Oh, it broke me. I'm like, I shouldn't do this. Like, I need to give up. Like, why am I trying to do whatever this person's doing? But then they went on to make the Snowman, and it's like, okay, so anything can happen, right? That movie makes no sense. How that movie's not amazing. But because it had the best elements of everything together with like Fassbender, everything. It's just so great. And then that's one of the worst movies.
But his name's Harry Hole. Like that's just like I couldn't believe when that was a real thing. I was like, what the fuck? His name's actually Harry
Everybody
Hole.
okayed this.
Well, it's from the book.
That's a weird one. But I mean, God, I don't know, man. There's a lot. I think I'm a cinephile first and foremost, right? So I'm celebrating new filmmakers. I want to watch what they're doing. Like I love what Ari Aster's doing. I love what Jordan Peele's doing. Clearly, like I did a whole podcast on Us with friends of mine. Like I think Us is amazing. Like I think Us is, if he's like the Paul Thomas Anderson of horror, I think Us is his Magnolia, in some way, like where Boogie Nights was Get Out and Us is his Magnolia. That's like a little more artsy, and he's taking chances and stuff that are there. And it makes you think, and I can talk a ton about that. Yeah. But, I
was going to ask, since we're like, it's just about 2020, so we're just about hitting that decade mark. Is there like a couple films you can just like fire them off over the last 10 years?
I asked you the question live last night, at the Q&A, and I caught you off guard with like movies that have just stood out to you.
Yeah.
You did mention quite a few.
You told me you made a list.
I made it as I was falling asleep. Like I need to open it back up because I don't think it's anything that's like I mean, I know Tigers Not Afraid I put on that list.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love Tigers Not Afraid. I'm so glad that Shudder picked that up. I think it makes so much sense. I wrote down Them. I don't know if you saw Ills.
Yeah, that's a movie you would fucking love, Buzi, if you haven't seen it. It's a great home invasion movie.
Yeah. like with kids. It's like a weird thing.
It's fucking bleak.
Yeah,
it's a good
it's
one.
Really, Eden Lake is another one.
Another
I loved
bleak
Eden
one.
Lake. Yeah,
Oh
I mean,
my
I
God,
love bleak ones.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a
When he
bummer.
goes super,
Jesus.
makes that kid go Super Saiyan.
Yeah, Autopsy of Jane Doe.
So
Yeah.
good.
That's a bigger movie, but like I loved it. Like that was.
Love Andre Overdahl.
Yeah.
for
Oh,
what he's
absolutely.
doing.
Yeah.
I love Scary Stories to Tell in the
I liked
Dark.
it too.
Yeah,
I liked it
that
too.
was
I thought
super
it was
fun.
great. Yeah, I thought it was great. Eyes of My Mother.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
like Eyes of My Mother. I just think that's so. I think it's not for everyone because I think it's a very deliberately paced film, but there's just something about. Plus, that's also a great example of someone writing about what they know. I can't remember the director's name right now, but he did something that was. The cow eye dissection scene like actually happened like as a kid, and he like writes stuff around that and like what that felt like. And I think drawing from those personal experiences is what makes these things feel more real and better.
Oh,
He's
Stephen King. That's all he does. Like everything in his movies,
Yeah.
something that happened. Like
Yeah.
everything.
well, same with me too. I mean, except Scare Package isn't as much things that have actually
What happened to you in your
Yeah.
life? That was
Yeah, not quite. But I mean, The Pale Door, the horror western that I'm in post production on now. I mean, that movie, even though it's about cowboys and witches from a macro standpoint, it also is so much about the relationship with myself and my brother, and then us with our father, and it's a very conflicted relationship that we have. And there's like a very, very personal sequence in that movie where two people are talking, and the speech that he's giving is a speech I've given to my brother, but like nobody would know that if you watch the film. Like it doesn't, but that's where it came from. So it's a very personal film, but
Once again, that's the Pale Door, which it went like we were talking about the Pale Door, right?
Yep.
And it went viral recently.
Right after we were finished filming, the poster. So we did a sales poster because it was at the Cannes Film Market with our sales agent, which is how you kind of get movies made, right? Like you have a sales agent and they're like promoting the film, even while you're making it. So we had that going on, and we just made a teaser poster for it, and I liked it. I really liked the teaser poster.
Yeah,
But it went viral. Like somebody posted it on Reddit. And then the post on Reddit became not just like Reddit movies or whatever. It was Reddit all. And it was the number one post on all of Reddit for an entire day. And we just had, it came 70,000 upvotes or whatever it was, and like thousands of comments. And I had hundreds of messages that day of just like, oh my God, like, do you see this? Like it's gone viral. And it actually went viral. It was crazy. And, but yeah, it was a really cool thing to have happen. And I think the reason why that happened is because we were doing something a little different. Also, I think having Joe Lansdale attached is really great.
Cold in July is so good.
Oh, Cold in July is a fantastic movie. A really great book too.
Yeah.
And I hired, actually in the Pale Door, I hired one of Joe's good people, Bill Sage, who was in Hap and Leonard, that Joe also wrote, and then he actually is the voice in Cold in July of like the radio guy, but then he's in We Are What We Are, which Jim Mickle, another amazing director, and he's a lead in that, and he's so good. So I got him in the Pale Door as well, but yeah, I think it went viral because there's not a lot of horror westerns. The concept, a group of cowboys rob a train, and then their leader basically gets shot, and then they have to hold up in a ghost town overnight, which has a coven of witches, and their horses get killed and stuff. Like their horses' heads are on stakes, and they walk out. And
dude, you just are explaining everything that I want in a movie, and Pat Healy's in it.
Yeah, Pat Healy's one of the main guys. Yeah, the main cast is Zachary Knighton, which might seem odd. He's the guy from. Have you ever watched the show Happy Endings on ABC back in the day?
Oh yeah.
He's the lead in that.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Zach's great. Zach's wonderful, and what I love is everybody casts him in all these comedic roles, but I had seen moments. He actually was in the Hitcher remake too, and I was like, this guy's actually really good. Like I always noticed this, but he's so funny. And originally I was going to cast him in a different role that had some more of the comedic timing, but then I thought he really fit. He kind of had this leading man quality to me to kind of be the leader of the gang. So he's in there, and then the main lead of the film is a kid named Devin Druid, who's on 13 Reasons Why is what he's mainly known for. He plays Tyler in that show, and he also He was in. I remember seeing him as like young Louis in the Louis show, Louis C.K. show, and then he was in Louder Than Bombs. He's in a really good movie called Imperium with Daniel Radcliffe, and he just had all of these.
Movie.
Yeah, he plays the kid with the shaved head that comes back at the end. Like he's great, right? I guess it's about skinheads. So they all have shaved heads. So I don't know why
I'm just gonna say which one.
Delineating like the shaved head guy in the skinhead movie, but yeah, I mean, Devin is phenomenal. Like that kid. I say kid. He's 21 now, but I mean, he's amazing. So yeah, we had Devin, Zachary Knighton, Pat Healy, Bill Sage, Noah Segan. I brought in Melora Walters, like I said, from Magnolia. She's the leader of the witches. Natasha Bassett, she plays her daughter in it, who's amazing as well.
Don't you have the mother from Butterfly Effect?
That's Melora Walters.
Okay, that's her. Yeah,
yeah, that's Melora as well. Yeah, she has more screen time in Butterfly Effect than anybody else.
Yeah,
which is like an interesting thing. Yeah, because it's like so much focusing on her.
Yeah,
but yeah, she's just my muse in every way. Like, I mean, I love Melora so much.
That's awesome. And actually, this kind of ties in with Seb here is when we were talking, like one thing that you really notice, of course, the first thing you notice about Scare Package, amazing design. Like the poster artwork is so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it seems like that, from getting to know you over the last couple of days, it seems like that's really important to you. And it was cool listening. I was just on the outside of it, listening to you and Seb talk about artwork.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. It's really cool for me to hear that a director's paying that close of attention to it, because it can set the tone for the whole experience of the movie.
Well, that's what can give the experience like started, because like we were talking last night, when we were like back in the 80s or 90s, like that's literally what would make you
that's your
watch the poster
right
or not.
Yeah.
You would just walk around. Like I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last episode, but I grew up across the street from a video store in a super small village with nothing else to do. It was a redneck town, and I was not a redneck, so so I would just spend hours walking through and looking at the covers and running back home enjoying them. That's what makes you pick the movie. Right now on Netflix, you don't always get that. Like you don't even get the full poster at times. Shudder, you do, I think.
And then I know
they keep changing, but
and I know it's not always in the filmmaker's hands. Actually, that's a lot of times they don't even get a say in it, because like you see a movie that Buzi and I really love and Seb is 47 Meters Down. We like that show.
Oh, yeah.
But it has the absolute most atrocious fucking cover art.
Yeah, it's like we weren't even trying.
Yeah, the Blu-ray art is so
Well, keep
bad.
in mind what happened with that movie, too, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I actually was just talking with a really nice guy, Mike Ronagal from Altitude Sales, who sold the film and got the film going. And I love shark movies. Like I just love fucking sharks. Like it's why Jaws is one of my all-time favorite films.
sharks, guys.
And I don't know what. Ever since a kid, I always have.
Yeah.
And but even with that movie, like keep in mind that movie was released already like overseas and became did relatively well. Then they decided to bring it, even though people had already seen it. So I think artwork had already existed.
Yeah.
And they had to redo. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but there was a weird situation.
And that's just an example of like there's sometimes you'll have. Like we love the original poster for It Comes at Night, like with the dog.
Yeah,
like that's
the
really cool.
subtlety of it. Yeah, it's perfect.
And so to me, it feels like someone was paying attention to that. They were focusing on that. And
they understood what they were trying to show you on a poster. Is like this is the movie you're going to get.
And you did the exact same thing with Scare Package.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
the movie. It sells itself perfectly. The
artwork
is amazing.
Then all that credit goes to Mark Schoenbach and Sadist Designs and like what. He just knocked it out of the park. And we knew, and again, my buddy Chris, who knew him, and was like, hey, this is the right guy. And I looked at his stuff. I actually saw, he did a Halloween 3 poster that I just loved. I love Halloween 3, by the way.
Yeah, it's great.
Like Season of the Witch is so fucking good. And, but it's weird because people don't get it. We even make a joke in Scare Package
I
about
love
it.
that Season of the Witch joke in there.
Yeah, because it's like, well, it doesn't follow the canon, so it isn't really like a Halloween in the Michael Myers world, but it's just a really great standalone film. And that's why it
yeah.
got like panned so much at the time. But it's so good. It's so good. But he made this poster and I fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, this guy could be it, you know? And we went back and forth with a lot of different designs. And I think, you know, obviously we wanted the movie Scare Package takes place in a video store. So the idea of the segments being VHS tapes, so we could have like the interesting boxes with the stickers and, you know, the bubble packaging and like make them look a little different was a really cool opportunity. But then it became, well, what's the main tape going to be? You know, and I was like, well, make it be the poster. And they're like, I don't understand. And even Mark was like, I don't know, what are you talking about? It doesn't, no. We need that to be, it'll just say Scare Package on it. It will just say the word Scare Package. I'm like, no. It needs to be the poster within the poster within the poster. And it goes in this thing. And he's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this will work. And because we had to show that, you know, the original title of the movie was Tropes. Because tropes.
Okay.
Yeah, because each segment was a different trope that we were subverting. But a lot of people didn't know what tropes meant. We learned, so that happened a little bit.
Super
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
Did you when you came up with the whole concept? Did you like made a list of all the tropes and then had to pick like, okay, top 7 or whatever?
Well, a little bit. I mean, we tried that, but then we gave them some direction, but we said, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know, so we didn't say do one on cold opens, but we loved the idea that Emily came with cold open. But we had plenty that were pitched to us that we didn't end up doing, you know, so because we're like, well, that's good, but it doesn't quite fit, you know, like what are we trying to subvert here? What are we trying to say? So we tried to come up, and then we wanted them to be a little different.
Which ones got laid on the table that didn't end up making it?
Well, there was one that was a zombie segment that didn't end up making it. There were a couple that we still kind of want to do. One idea that I had is I wanted to do like a Saw riff that was the guy that basically was like an Office kind of parody, but it's the people working at the office who are making all of Saw's crazy like things for him. And you see like the little like wheeling dude like wheels in and he's like, get back to work, you know, and then wheels back out and they're like clocking in and out, but it's like all done in the Office kind of style where they're like mad about who's turning up the thermostat, but then they're also making these machines that kill people and they have to test them out. And like if you were like the lowest rated employee, you would have to test out the machinery and like possibly die. And
that's awesome.
you know,
That's a cool
so
concept.
I was like, that could be really fun. There's another one that was that's called Stray. That's just all about this haunted house, but it ends up being, and like all these things are happening, but it ends up just being that it's a cat in the house. That's like there's like a dead bird that's left in, and things
And
are
fuck
just
Josh.
because cats like fuck with you know. So there was that. There were a few. I mean, there were a bunch of different options, but we actually really want to do a sequel. And in that, we definitely want to push. I think I want to push the exorcism side more, do something with that. Maybe do a found footage thing.
I got to give you, like, I know it, like, and I truthfully mean this. I'm not just saying it because you're here, but you also, in your film, is my favorite moment of movies this year is of homage or a reference to Friday the 13th Part 4. Yeah. me and Seb. It was special because, like I think I told you about this just quickly to add a little bit of context. Seb and I just met for the first time in person this week. We've been friends for a long time. We talk about all these movies, and we always, one thing that we always talked about is like, if we could hang out, like which movies would we watch? And your movie is like a compilation of all of the movies that we've
it saved us some time there.
It did, yeah. And we were cheering when that fucking Friday part happened.
Oh yeah,
and
as soon as you mentioned like I can't. That's not good.
You can say Corey Feldman if you
yeah,
want.
Corey Feldman.
We're like, oh.
I think you said out loud. They're like, they're not going. Oh my god!
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
funniest part. I can't. Well, we'll talk about it after. Was the segment with the specific date
fireworks.
Yeah, that was so funny. We'll tell you about after
because it's a spoiler for people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
It was a
it was
pretty
so
awesome
funny.
moment. Yeah.
We were like, oh, we all excited. Yeah. Anyways,
Oh, that's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
no, it's fucking great, man. We're not going to take up too much more of your time.
but how do you feel about Jean-Claude Van Damme?
What? I mean, have you ever seen JCVD?
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
Oh my god. All right, it's happening.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I was going to ask you about, because you had actually told us this story last night, but I feel like it's something that the listeners would want to hear.
Sure.
Is about the alien scene with the motion tracker. You were talking about that last night.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so we take a lot of pride in that Scare Package has so many little homages, and as you referenced, so yeah, there's a Corey Feldman moment that was the hardest thing for me to direct because I was laughing so hard. God. And Chase Williamson, another good buddy who's been in a couple of my movies now, and we're writing another movie for him right now.
He's in lots of this. Beyond the Gates.
He's Beyond the Gates. He's also the lead in John Dies at the End.
John Dies at the End. That's what
which is so he's so good in that. That's the first one I saw him in. And when I saw that, I was like, dude, we got to work together.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's phenomenal. And I think he's really funny in Scare Package. I think he just gives a great performance. And, but yeah, so there's that. But then there is a moment that's an Aliens moment where Bill Paxton has the little tracker and it does that little beep sound. Yeah, and he's like, tracker. 20 meters, 10 meters, oh fuck. And he's getting all crazy. I always love that scene. I think it's such a tense scene.
Oh, Bill was amazing.
So we recreated that scene exactly. We used we copied the same sound effect.
Yeah.
And then we even did the timing of, we had the actress actually say like 10 meters as somebody's coming toward them, whatever. So that's one of many, many little things that we did, in the film. But yeah,
that's awesome.
I think like one of my favorite movies, if we're just talking about the whole film, that really kicked off where you're like, oh, this is going to be a really great film, is the Freddy car with the.
Oh my god!
Oh, we laughed so hard.
Yeah,
that's so great.
Especially since we had just watched Nightmare on Elm Street again.
It's just like you felt all of a sudden so comfortable watching the movie.
Yeah.
That's the tone. Like, all right.
What I was saying to Seb last night is like it's like that moment was where I was like, okay, we're in the right hands. Because there have been these I don't want to throw a bunch of movies under the bus, but there's been these movies that claim to be like made by people who love this genre and they're doing it for the right reasons, but it doesn't feel like they actually get it.
They think they're punching down when they're making those movies.
I know, like it feels like they're above them, sort of.
For all I know, this could be one of your good friends, and that's I think it's a good movie, but it just doesn't work for me as Final Girls. Mm-hmm. It didn't really do anything for me because it felt like they were making fun of Friday the 13th with tropes that aren't even in Friday the 13th. I felt that a couple times, and I can sense like us hardcore fans, we know this shit. So you took a huge swing by making this movie where we could potentially pick it apart because it has so many fucking references, but every time after time after time, we nailed it. And it's
that makes me so happy.
And I can't wait to watch it again because there's so much stuff that I'm like, I'm sure I missed some stuff because obviously you can't pick up all the Easter eggs, and I'm sure there's many that
that means so much because we made it for people like you guys. So I mean, that's what this is for. And we want you to try and pick it apart because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
You get to peel away layers, and we want to reward those people. But you're 100% right. There are a lot of people who make horror films that are, oh, this is an opportunity to be a part of like this world. I know we can make a little money and this, and there's big horror films that are made by people who aren't horror people, and that frustrates me.
And then they hate it.
Yeah, I mean, well, because you know what? We can sense it. You can feel it. Yeah, when it's not coming from the right place. Yeah. And like I said, they look at it as horror is still a B movie. That's why I hate when people say elevated genre, because elevated genre means that this genre needs to be elevated. And that's
they want to take it away from what it actually is.
Yeah. Look, there was a schlocky period in the 80s where they were just pumping out this stuff. And even though I have an affinity and I love a lot of those, there was a derivative nature to what was going on.
And they weren't made with a lot of care. Like you can talk about some of the later Friday the 13th,
but sometimes it works.
I mean, you can talk about the first Friday the 13th. Honestly, the first Friday the 13th is, look, I love it, but it's also like really kind of cheeky and bad at times.
It's one of my least favorite Friday movies.
Yeah,
just for the original.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and they were lucky. They were lucky that that Savini suggested that the kid jump out of the water. Otherwise, there would be no Jason. Like the entire thing would not have happened had Savini not gone to see Carrie. And then he remembered like the jump scene in Carrie. He's like, hey, we should end with something. Mm-hmm. And had that not happened, the entire Jason Voorhees saga would never have happened. Mm-hmm.
Shit like that's crazy. Like Joe Dante was talking about this. Like, keep in mind, next episode we're going to go heavy into all the movies we saw at the festival, and we're going to talk about our time with Joe Dante. It was amazing, but we're focusing on you today. But one of the things, like, it's so fascinating how Spielberg came up with the idea of making Gizmo stay good the whole
right.
time.
That's the
movie would
magic
not
of
have been
Spielberg
the
right
same.
there, because Spielberg knows how, because he knows how to connect to a younger audience and make you like have heart in what he does.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Spielberg so much.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, to make Gizmo not turn into Stripe and Gizmo be a
it's
character
huge.
that goes with it, it's,
We would have no Gremlins 2, and I just don't want to live in a world with no Gremlins 2.
I just saw Gremlins 2 again in LA. Rick Baker was there,
Oh.
and Rick
Oh.
Baker was talking, like he did a talk, and my buddy Sean, I've referenced a few times, him and I went out there and saw it, which was great. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Gremlins 2 is such a wild fucking
I know.
film.
We
man.
just watched it last week.
so
Oh,
ridiculous.
I was going to ask. I have one more question for you.
That's fine.
How did it feel having Joe Dante open for you?
Man, it was crazy.
Technically.
It was crazy. He was
going
super. He was super nice about it too. He actually
This
was
young
really
up and comers.
right. Yeah, we rode in the car on the way when they picked him up.
Yeah.
They picked me up as well, and him and I and Belinda were talking on the way in. We kind of made a stop, and he just was so complimentary about, oh, this sounds really. I told him about the movie, and he was definitely interested in Scare Package, and I thought that was really cool. But he was asking me, like, I didn't like, hey, I made a movie, like. He had been told that I was a filmmaker, so he just started asking me questions. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna bother you with my little movies,
Yeah, he
And-
actually took the initiative
Even
to want to talk to you
He did
about
the
it.
same thing with Seb.
But he knows that you can talk the talk.
Well,
That's something else. Like
he did, yeah. And what's interesting is actually when he left right before, 'cause unfortunately he couldn't stay to see Scare Package. He left, and I was sitting up in the front of the theater, and then he came back in. He was outside.
I was talking to him at that point. I was having a conversation with him, and he's like, "Well, we're going right away." He's like, "But I got to go say bye." So he
Yeah.
ran back in.
Yeah, he runs back in, goes all the way to the front of the theater, stops, taps me on the shoulder. I'm like, who the hell? I'm like, oh, Joe Dante. Hey, what's up?
No.
And he's like,
"You were
"Aaron-"
looking for me."
Yeah, and he's like, hey, Aaron, I just want to say I'm really sorry I couldn't be here. I'm really excited for you. I hope it goes really well. So nice meeting you. Good luck on Scare Package. I can't wait to see it. And I'm just like, whoa, holy
that
shit.
means the world.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's
it's so
unreal.
nice, like for him to come back and do that. So
You
was
say that
awesome.
all again, but I'm just going to record it.
yeah, well, that was like the first
what
time
do
I
you-
got a Variety positive quote. Like I want to make a T-shirt of it. I remember that.
When, because we went upstairs and you had about a 25-minute half-hour conversation with Joe Dante before I
I had to talk the talk. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was like really interested in you and what you were doing with your artwork. And
Yeah, but I was not letting that happen. I was like, no, I'm here for you.
yeah,
You don't do that with anybody, though. You're just like, fuck me.
I'm not good. I've met one of the original like Ninja Turtles artists,
yeah.
Eric something, and I was just asking. He was asking. I was just happened. I was wearing a shirt that I designed. It was like, oh, that's a cool shirt. We're like, oh yeah, cool. My buddy was like, hey, designed it. I was like, I was just trying to. He kept asking me stuff. I'm like, no, dude, I'm here for you. Like
Yeah.
it's just like yeah.
But no, I think it's nice when people like that, like Joe Dante, don't need to do that. They don't need to be
absolutely
as
not.
amazing as they are.
but
Well-
they're passionate, so
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's-
he could have literally like just not sat through any of the screenings. He could have just showed up and been like, "You got an hour. You got me for an hour. That's
How about
it."
the fact that we watched The Burbs and The Howling with Joe Dante like fucking 30 feet from us?
Well,
That's
and
just
Belinda
so-
said that was the first time she's seen it since the actual initial
Yeah.
screening. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
I wanted
That's
to
so
be
cool.
front row for all of them, but I just wanted to sit just to be in their bubble for
Yeah.
a bit, just so I can say I watched Gremlins like sitting
Oh,
next
also
to it.
on a really stupid side note, I know Belinda Blasky's iPhone passcode because she was sitting like 5 feet from me and holding the camera and she's like, bam, 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 and I'm like, oh, there's her password.
She doesn't see
Good to
too well,
know.
I think.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep that in my vault though. I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She doesn't see well, I think.
No, I don't.
'Cause, yeah.
But that's also a credit to but that's a credit to how I think the horror community is.
True, yeah.
And that people don't understand like how supportive we really are. And it's great to know that some of the, Dante being like one of the kings, right? That I think it's just there. It is such a community, like it really is. And I've been fortunate that people have started to welcome me in. And if I get fortunate enough, I was talking with I won't name drop. There's another friend of mine who's another prominent filmmaker, and he
Steven Spielberg.
No, God, I wish. I will say, I really do wish. Like, I've never met Spielberg. He'd be one of the ones that'd be really weird for me to meet.
Yeah.
Oh,
because he's my childhood in every
to you,
possible
Didi
way.
Derek, Poltergeist.
Okay, So, okay, so here's the deal. I got to be, oh man. So what's weird is one of my other friends who's going to hear this is going to be really upset. And Joe Bob will not be happy if he ever heard this.
But fuck Josh still.
But fuck Josh. Yeah, who cares what he thinks? Because he thinks something stupid about it, I'm sure. So Spielberg did direct it.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
obviously.
And if you watch the film and you look at the sensibilities of it and you look at just even the way the shots are framed and everything,
everything
it is vintage Spielberg top to bottom. I have no doubt, look, Toby was very involved. He was there, but like.
But there's even pictures, and some actors came out and said, I was on set for 6 days and was always Spielberg.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's counter stories to that too that have said.
Well, Spielberg says that Toby still did it, but I think that's just because he's like, I don't need to be the guy.
He doesn't need to be the guy.
Well, not that. Like he was filming. He was doing E.T. So he must have some contract thing. Yeah. They were filmed like it was the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it was right there, but. Obviously, you will now never be able to say that he worked on, because I'm sure there's contracts or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if he was producer, I'm sure he was not able to direct something else. Or
and look, and rest in peace to Toby. And like, there's no reason to obviously. Any of that with him. And Toby's
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Yeah,
I fucking adore that movie.
Yeah, so. Toby is one of those kings as well, so he's part of that. But no, he didn't.
Just not him.
Oh my god! I just thought of something.
What?
Because it was in the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, was E.T. really making stuff move? Because that house must have been built on a
Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh my god! I never made that connection before.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
There's something there.
Cool.
That's interesting. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah. There's a short there.
Last time I was in LA, I actually drove by the E.T. house just because.
But not by the Poltergeist house?
I didn't realize that it was the same neighborhood.
Yeah, same neighborhood. It's like.
Is a tree still outside there?
Actually, when in E.T. when they're riding their bikes, like his brother or whatever, they drive in front of the Poltergeist house.
God damn it!
Yeah.
So I drove by.
You have to go back.
So, but they built the tree though, right? The tree's not.
Yeah.
Okay, because like if that tree was there, like I'd be climbing that tree.
Yeah, and the pool,
taking pictures.
and the pool with the real.
Oh my god! Yeah. That'd be
such a good movie.
Yeah. Oh, Poltergeist is so good.
Yeah.
So
we talked about it last week.
Actually, there's a whole Pale Door piece where there's these kids and they're in their room. And they're like scared of what's outside the window, and it's this tree branch that's there, and it's the poltergeist tree. It's like that's all I'm referencing and thinking of.
Clown,
no poltergeist
clown
tree.
in Western.
No, it's not that kind of thing. I mean, it's a different. Yeah, that's a serious. The Pale Door is very, very different than.
Yeah, you can tell by the poster and everything.
Yeah.
I have another question. Do I have time for another question?
Yeah, sure. I don't have to go anywhere. But you guys, whatever you guys need to do.
Meh. Because you kind of touched on this, and it's. When and because you're a filmmaker, so you make movies. It is the same thing. Like you're a musician, whatever. Like when you making something,
quote unquote,
musician,
quote unquote.
Yeah. I just thought I said magician, which I could have said that. Anyways,
cool.
When you're actually making something, it makes it hard to look at other things the same way now, and I hear that from a lot of like Joe Lynch and all those guys. Like, you can't just watch a movie and enjoy it. Like you're like, oh, I wonder how he made that shot. I wonder what like. So you're kind of unable to watch movies like you used to as a kid. Do you find that, or it's just harder to judge?
I went through a period of time where that was the case. So once I first started making movies, and I really out of film school, and I was working on sets. Then I was dissecting them too much, and I would focus on what was done or wasn't done or how they did it. There are still inevitably moments in movies. Like I just watched Parasite, which is my favorite film of the year.
Yeah, it started.
So good.
Yeah, Parasite's my favorite film of the year. So there's a sequence where there's a huge flood sequence that they do. And I'm so obsessed with that movie, but I did at that moment kind of broke me out because I'm like, how did they do this?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the logistics of it. And like in Jalakatu, which I saw with you guys the other night.
I was saying things like, how did they?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm just thinking like, well, if this was SAG, look at all the money, because who many people have different lines speaking. And I'm like, the producer in my head is just like racking up numbers of like how they did this. So that does happen, but I still, movies are an escape for me. And that's the reason why I make movies, because, like I referenced this, like I had, I had a good childhood, but I had like weird things that I needed to like deal with, basically, let's put it that way. And in that process, when things were shitty, I could go watch a movie And that would, for those 2 hours, like things weren't shitty, you know, like whatever it was, like I could focus on that. And that meant the world to me. And it still does. Like, I went through a bad breakup a couple years ago, and it really like hurt a lot. And I would go and seek out particular movies because they would sometimes make me feel the hurt more, or make me not feel the hurt more, or whatever it was, like those things that would happen, because that experience, that's what makes movies, like, to me, the most magical thing in the world.
High Fidelity? Or?
What's that? Oh, High Fidelity, that's so funny.
I was going to say, did you do Blue Valentine? Because that's my breakup movie.
No, I mean, I did watch Blue Valentine, because that's just a hard movie to watch, man. That's so brutal.
Do you have a breakup movie? I feel like everyone has a breakup movie.
So 500 Days of Summer, a little bit is in that. Swingers is the movie that I watch that makes me feel better about it. I mean, also
Sallow,
yeah. 400 Days of Sodom. I will say, weirdly, even though this is more recent, that really helped me. So like, I was really struggling, not to get too personal with this, but I was really struggling with my breakup for a period of time. And I was off and on. Like, I was doing well, and then I would struggle again. And then I watched Toy Story 4. And like, I'm not kidding, dude. Toy Story 4, which is about like letting go and moving on, and like realizing that like you're not this part of yourself. Those first Toy Story movies are so fucking good. Yeah. And I was on a date. And I started crying.
Oh boy!
And I'm like, this is awkward. Like, this date's not going to go. Yeah. You know, I mean, she'd already things were already thought were going to happen, and I'm like, this is not happening. I'm just going to leave. Like, there's no way I'm going with you.
Well, I just cried during Toy Story. Good night. It was nice knowing you.
Well, I mean, I would cry during Toy Story normal. Just to be clear, I have no problem crying in movies. I'm a crier. Because again, movies matter to me so much. So like, I experience them. So that's to answer your question. I get so wrapped into them that like it becomes part of me in that moment. I love it. Yeah. That escape is everything.
Well, you're able to do that. I just feel some people can't. I can still.
Well, I have to. Again, there are times, like even Parasite, I was so in, but every now and then I still get pulled out. Yeah. But I go in with the intention of making that happen. And so now that's all I want to do. Like, this idea that I could make something that someone in Saskatoon that I don't know at some point could watch a movie that I've been involved in and laugh, cry, be scared,
just evoke something out of
and like I made that happen, and like I gave you that moment, and maybe I helped create an escape that somebody created for me. I'll get
something that will be part of them.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'll get like way too cheesy on this for you guys, but I mean, I'll get chills thinking about it, because that's all I want to do. That's all that it's about. That's all I want to do. And
man, did you ever fucking knock it out of the park then? Because like the theater was having so much fun.
I'm sure you heard all my obnoxious laughing.
And dude, you followed up a Joe Dante triple feater. With Joe Dante there, you followed it up, and everyone was like fucking having the best time.
Oh man,
so yesterday, not to get emotional as well, but yesterday was one of the best days of my life.
Same.
It was just such a special day, and your movie was a part of that.
Forever. And it was funny because when we were driving back, I was like, man, I'm so glad that movie was good, because you know when, when you meet someone and we talked about this when they're your friends or whatever, like you're like, or even
you
when
always want to support people you know, or that or even nice, like you meet someone first time, you're like, oh, they're so nice, but whatever they did, I just can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you always, like, I do design for bands or whatever, so always that when the album's coming out, I'm like, oh yeah, it's good. Like, I have to say that, but obviously, when you legit feel it, like, I'm like, oh, thank God, like, but yeah, then you have to explain it. I swear, I mean it. Like, and I'm seeing it right now. Like, I legit fucking love it.
I think all of us can agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and again, I want to make sure that I'm also including, there are other amazing directors that are involved. Like, I was a producer on it, but, I think it's this collaborative effort, and we had so many talented people that kind of came together to do it.
We'll make calls later for them, but you're here right now, so
you're
getting it.
Just next time you see them or talk to them, let them know that it went over really well in Saskatoon with horror fans.